Hey guys, what is going on? So I wanted to make a transformation video from everything prior to Turkesterone. So I've been lifting on and off for 12 years. I'm 24, so that's been half of my life. I get tons of questions about how I progressed in lifts or what my progress was like, where I was at prior to Turkesterone and the path to get there. So I just really want to show what my transformation has been like. And unfortunately, I don't have a ton of pictures and videos from the times that I've made the most gains, which was when I was in high school. But I'm going to try and say kind of what I did throughout this whole process. So I do have a Turkesterone before and after video that I'm going to make at some point, but my current physique is not what I would consider to be like my final form on Turkesterone. So because I ran into injuries and stuff like that. So I hope to have that, at some point. I do plan to go one more round with Turkesterone. So we'll see what happens there. But this is kind of the best thing I can do in the meantime to kind of be like a way to understand where I was at prior to this. So the first picture I have here, everybody feels the need to post pictures from before they started lifting or their, pre-pubescent years and stuff like that. So this is a picture that I picked, just kind of shows my physique, whatever. It's kind of weird. This picture, I was 13 years old and I was 5'7". I don't know my weight. And I was in 8th grade. So at this point, I'd been lifting since I was 12. So I'd actually been lifting in this picture. So I wouldn't say I'm like rail thin. I wasn't always like overly skinny. I was always skinny, but not like unnaturally skinny. I wasn't one of those people who's just like a twig all the time. I played sports. I was decently strong. I don't remember any specific numbers from weightlifting. It was really basic stuff, but that's when I started. And then a year later, I had a growth spurt. I probably, put on some muscle here as well. This is me in 9th grade. And then this honestly is like, I don't have very many pictures. So this is me at 16. And at this point I had already built most of my muscle. So I don't, look super massive, I don't think here, but I put on a lot of weight. And this is just kind of, I want to break that down into, I was simply a guy who played sports. I wasn't a bodybuilder. I wasn't a weightlifter. I was in the gym a lot. I lifted a lot, but it was purely to get better at sports. And in the previous picture, I was 5'11", 158 pounds. Here, I'm 6'3", probably like 205, maybe 210 at the biggest. And that happened within the course of a year and a half, maybe. And I had been lifting, like I said, since I was 12. So coming into high school, I was 14. This is me, at 16 during football season earlier on in the year. And I put on most of my muscle during that time period. And that's kind of one of the main things I want to talk about is just people who have their hormones going, their testosterone, everything super high when they are in high school. They have a huge advantage over everybody else. And that's what happened to me. I literally was not a bodybuilder. I wasn't trying to gain muscle. I was just trying to improve in sports. And I was largely focused on, athleticism, vertical jump, speed, all that stuff. And I understood building muscle was something that was important, but it was never a focus of mine. I didn't have any diet principles or anything. I literally was just an athlete like anybody else. And I just went to the gym and did the workouts that my coaches asked. And I was just there every day and I showed up. I don't think I was anything special. I mean, I do think I have good genetics for sure, but this was not the product of bodybuilding. And so I put on a ton of muscle from that time period. Then when I was 17, so this is me at 16, that's probably like my peak in high school. When I was 17, I graduated high school and I stopped doing all of this, right? I stopped lifting. I didn't really care about this stuff anymore. I was a basketball player and I wasn't good enough to go to college. And so, this is me. This next picture is me. The only picture I could really find. This is me like after I had like lost all my weight. So I don't know what the hell I'm doing in this picture, but this is me like, depleted of some muscle. I honestly held on to quite a bit here. And then in 2017, August 2017, I started lifting again. So basically I graduated in 14, 3-year gap. So from summer of 14 to summer of 17, I didn't really lift much at all. And that was, this picture, was basically my last, like my final form prior to me lifting again. And so I started tracking my workouts on my phone, and I literally just started going because a gym opened up in the building that I worked at. So I decided, why the hell not? Let's go ahead and do some workouts. So I tracked, my progress here, and my first workout, I benched 205 for a 3x10. And the most I ever remember benching when I was in high school, again, I didn't really keep track of this stuff. I didn't really care. I just did stuff that I was supposed to do for lifting. The most I ever remember lifting was 225 for a set of 10. So, 3x10 here. Then I went ahead in that same workout, benched 225 for 8. And then I went ahead and, did some squats. And my squats were really what I kind of focused on. I came from an athletic background. I wasn't really focused. I was trying to get my numbers up, but I wasn't going back into bodybuilding. When I started lifting again, at age 21 here, it wasn't anything crazy. It was just me going in, benching and squatting. And so, I progressed really quickly. I got a lot of my gains back that I potentially could have had in high school, or maybe just from getting older. I don't know. I got a little bit stronger. And so this is kind of, the first clip that I have, the first recording of me, back in the gym. And this is me at 21. This is me lifting 355 pounds on the squat. So this was my max. If you look, at my form and how hard it was, like I'm grinding that up. That was 355. That was the most I'd ever done at that point. And basically, like I said, I was always focused on athleticism. I wasn't a bodybuilder. So I was just doing squats and bench. And I think I did a little bit of chest isolation stuff just because I figured that could bring my bench up. I didn't really have any focus of like looking good because I figured, I retained a good amount of my muscle in my strength, even though I hadn't lifted for years. So I really was just kind of trying to get back into working out and stuff because I kind of noticed the positive effects. And so this is me, I was focused on athleticism and I started playing basketball again. So when I started lifting, I started playing basketball again. And, I was really into dunking. That was kind of one of the major things. I was trying to like increase my vertical when I was in high school. So my main focus from here on was just building my squat. I did work on my bench, but not to the same degree. And so I added, weight to my squat. Here's a couple of videos of me, dunking here. And at the end of the day, it was just me kind of being, a former athlete. And, I have some of these as I continued to lift, my vertical got higher. This is probably higher than it ever was in high school because I was stronger now than I ever really was. And, as I was gaining weight, I was still able to, windmill. And so this is basically, a period of hyper growth. I put over 100 pounds on my squat. This here is me like after I had gained some weight back. So it's not really an appealing picture. I don't really have like a shirtless picture, but here I'm probably back to, maybe 215 here. So I lost some of the weight, gained it back. And then this is me, just a funny little video here of me trying to deadlift. So this is the equivalent, I think, of 3 plates. And I don't know if I was tired here. I couldn't even get 3 plates off the ground. Like people, think about deadlifting and, it should be strong. And for me, I had a back injury. Deadlifting has always been a problem for me. My deadlift just sucks and I just don't like doing it. So that's why my deadlift is so poor. But that's just an example. Like even as I'm getting back in the gym, doing all this stuff, I was still trying to deadlift and it just wasn't there. So at this point, I'd kind of like bulked up, gained all that muscle back that I lost and then put on probably some additional muscle at that point. And this is a picture of me, half natty lighting here. And I'm probably about, 220 here. I don't know how lean I was. I really had no focus on like cutting or bulking or anything. I literally just like ate probably more food than I used to, knowing that I needed to like put on muscle. I was eating more food, but I wasn't like necessarily trying to get a certain like body fat percentage. I didn't know anything about that. I was just kind of getting back into stuff and, slowly putting more time into the gym, maybe focusing less on squats after a while, if I plateaued and stuff like that. So, this is me probably, at this point is kind of when gains started to slow down a bit as I was able to kind of, get some stuff back. So this is me. This is my max squat ever. This is 465. I've never surpassed this. And this was years ago. So this was after, being in the gym for a few months. I got my squat from 355. This was a grinder too, but 355, I didn't have a belt on that one. And this one I do. And this is 465. So, form breaks down, my knees come in, but I was able to squat that. And at this point, you know, I'm continuously gaining weight. And then I start going back and, you know, playing basketball indoors again. And again, this is kind of my focus this whole time is like, you know, I was trying to put on muscle and strength and whatever, but like realistically, you know, I was always a basketball player. So when I was doing this, I was always like, oh, how's my vertical jump? How are my basketball skills? And so I was trying to get back into just physical activity in general. And then, so here are a couple of videos of me, you know, I'm able to, this is me at 230 pounds. I'm able to stand under the rim. You know, still able to dunk. My other videos, I'm probably like 210, 215. I'm still able to windmill, and this is, you know, an indoor court. And then this is me probably, you know, when I'm at 230. So, you know, bulked up 230, you know, pretty fat here, like not super fat, but just not as lean as I probably was, you know, in the past. And, you know, this is a picture, you know, as I'm starting to really try and do a bulk, right? So I'm at 230. I keep growing. You know, I was kind of at 220 for a while, kind of stuck. That was a level that I couldn't really get past. And this is me in the summer of 2019. This is the first time that I ever really tried to like put on a ton of weight at any given time. And this was right around the time that I got my naked body scanner, and this changed everything in my opinion. And so I'm bulking, I'm putting on a bunch of weight. You know, I thought I was putting on muscle, and then I'm looking at the naked body scanner and I'm really not. And this is me, the fattest that I'd ever been. You know, it's just crazy to look at this picture, and I was 242 pounds here. This was late May. I think it was May 25th of 2019. So, you know, less than 2 years ago. This is the fattest I'd ever been. This is the highest lean body mass I'd ever had prior to taking turkesterone. And this was me like getting actually fat, in my opinion, for the first time. Like if you look, I don't have any V-taper at all. And basically when I saw this, like I thought I was getting big, and normally I probably would have, I don't know, kept bulking because I thought I was like, I don't know, I couldn't see what was going on in my own body. But I had the naked body scanner, and it was basically telling me like, dude, you're gaining nothing but fat. You're not gaining any muscle. And so this was my first ever time cutting. So this was the worst it's ever been. I got the naked body scan. I was like, dude, I have to cut. So I went crazy. I cut calories like a monster. I'd never cut in my entire life. I'd never tried to lose weight. And in early June here, this is me maybe a few weeks later, like I dropped so much weight because I did not want to be fat. I thought I was gaining muscle, I was gaining fat. And so I dropped, you know, a ton of weight here. And this is me, you know, in June, I continued to try and cut the weight. Obviously these are different lighting pictures between these, but, you know, and then I'm able to, you know, continuously kind of try and add muscle, try and add strength. At this point, I'm focused on aesthetics for the first time. So I start actually working bodybuilding stuff. I start working on my shoulders. I start actually trying to build muscle as opposed to just building my squat and my bench. Because back in my 242 picture, I was purely focused on squat and bench, and I couldn't get past 465. That was my peak. And as I continued to add weight, I really wanted to squat 500. I was never able to do it. I could never squat 500. I don't know if I ever will. But I just kept trying to put on weight. It didn't work. So I figured, you know, being lean was probably the lifestyle that I wanted to live. So, you know, I continued to cut. I got down to here, and this is probably the leanest I'd ever been. This is not as good of lighting as, you know, the gym pictures. And I basically plateaued here. This is like the leanest I could ever get. I shot my calories so fast that, you know, my body fat percentage is probably 12, 13 minimum here. So I've never gotten a single digit body fat. And this is basically me like getting into aesthetics and trying to do all that for the first time, and cutting weight and really just trying to focus a little bit more on bodybuilding than just straight up strength training. And this is basically me cut down. You know, my calories are normal here, so I'm not like trying to cut at this point. I'm already like pretty lean. I'm getting my calories back to normal. And this is me just like I kind of stayed at this level for a while. And this is still in 2019, guys. So in May of 2019 was when I got really fat. I got down to this level, and I kind of maintained. And this is where gains started to kind of slow down to a pretty significant degree. I had to eke out strength gains really slowly. You know, I wasn't putting any weight on my squat or anything like that. And bench, you know, it was a slow process, but this is kind of like when I started to notice that I was like getting close to, you know, getting like advanced basically. Like I really wasn't really progressing at any significant rate at this point. And then here are just a couple lifts. This is me, you know, at this point, you know, I'm not really gaining a lot of strength, but this is kind of like my PRs prior to, you know, going on turkesterone. So this is me doing 315 for a set of 5. And, you know, that was the most I'd ever done up to that point. Now, even, you know, with an injury, I might be able to do more than that, considering, you know, I was able to make some pretty decent gains. on Turkesterone. And then this video here is me benching 355. This is my max to this day. I've never tried to do more than this. I'm sure I could now because, again, I gained a good amount on Turkesterone. And then this is basically over the course of 1.5 years. So my previous physique picture was like 1.5 years prior to this. This is me, you know, prior to quarantine. And, you know, I think, so maybe it wasn't 1.5 years, however long it was. And this is basically just like, okay, at this point, I'm not really making any gains at all. I got 355. I haven't been able to get past 355 this whole time. It's been months. Usually I was able to make pretty consistent gains. And so I was just kind of plateauing here. And this was, you know, in early 2020 before quarantine. I was decently lean. And then, you know, quarantine happened. Everything went crazy. I basically, you know, lost some gains, got fat, tried to get skinny again. I wasn't in the gym all that much. And then I got back in the gym towards the end of 2020, got my strength gains back, and I was like, okay, you know, that's kind of when Turkesterone ended up happening in November. I ended up ordering that. So this is kind of like my last form. This is, you know, my like natural, I wouldn't say it's my natural limit because I can still kind of eke out gains from this point, but this was really where I started to notice, like, you know, gains weren't really coming at that point. And that's just kind of my transformation overall. And again, I have added size and strength with Turkesterone, but I'm not ready to make a transformation on that because I don't think it's really like complete. So I will try and, you know, hopefully get healthier and get back into, you know, hopefully Derek releases Turkesterone here soon. And I'll get back on it for a little bit, kind of finish that out, and then I'll just kind of show from this period, like this picture, and then, you know, everything that I've gained since then, and just kind of do it before and after to kind of help you guys decide if maybe you want to, you know, try Turkesterone. So yeah, anyway, that's all I got to say about that. I'll keep you updated, and I'll talk to you soon.